Good evening, everybody. It's been some days that I didn't have time to come back. Sorry for that. When God woke me up, it was like I had been living in a fog for years and suddenly woke up from a nightmare. I realized that I had lost years of my life trying to pursue something that had no value after all. Money, work, success, property, all these things that we are taught to pursue meant nothing when things got rough in life. And I found it hard to understand how could I have been so blind. It was devastating. I accused myself of being so stupid, for all the mistakes I had made, and I cried for my sins, at home, with the family, in the church. That's why I understand why it was so easy for our church to believe a lie. Who would be so broken if he didn't commit some very serious sins? Domestic violence made completely sense, especially if they had experience in their life or in their childhood similar things. Their imagination just added up, and they had heard rumors, they had this own experience, they just put it together, and of course, it makes sense. The lie that changed my life was created like that. Only problem was that their creation was false. God made me cry for all my sins. Also those that many consider not that serious. But God made me cry for them. But of course people couldn't know that. And I couldn't know about their creation at that point. This lie. And when the accusations that I had beaten and manipulated my wife during our whole 10-year marriage came to my knowledge, it was too late. Their creation had spread already, and I was a violent Finnish man, and my wife was a victim of domestic violence, manipulation, and all kind of evil things you can imagine. Only problem was that nobody cared to ask a question. What if my conclusion is false? What if I'm wrong? And at the same time, I was completely unaware of their creation. Trying to understand what had happened to my wife. Why did she act so strange? Why was she delusional? Why the church arranged her a safe place? Why they didn't tell me where she was? Why they didn't deliver my messages? Why they suddenly started to avoid me, stopped greeting me, and wanted me out? I was guilty of asking my wife to spend the night away from home. I was guilty of trying to force her out when she refused to obey. I was guilty of grabbing her and holding her against the wall when she struggled. But in my mind, the church was overreacting. They treated me as if I was extremely dangerous. It made no sense to me. Until I started to realize that they had heard something much worse. Or maybe not even heard, but expected the worst because of my wife's reaction and because I was crying so much of my sins. No man would cry so much if we were not guilty of something very serious. Right? Like beating his wife for 10 years. Right? That's how the lie won over the church. But how is it possible that nobody questioned this lie? I don't understand, but I believe the answer is simple. It was much easier. It was much easier not to question. We hear these stories all the time in the news. A man beat his wife at home. A violent Finnish man beats his immigrant wife. And finally, after years of violence, she has courage to leave. This picture is far too common, unfortunately. But this picture is also very dangerous. Why? Well, our society has created a myth that basically all men are dangerous. And all women are victims. And because nobody cared to find out the truth, it was very easy to believe the rumors. It was easier not to get involved in our situation. And it was very easy to judge me. And when their consciousness started to bother them, suggesting that they may have made a false conclusion, my presence started to annoy these people. They asked the leaders to act, to get rid of me. And the leaders did act, because my presence annoyed them too. So they asked me not to attend a Sunday service. They forbid me to read the Bible in the service. They forbid me to have any visible role in the church. And when I asked the leaders why they treated me like this, I got no answer. Finally, I was able to discuss with the leading pastor. And he told that your presence annoys some people in the church. And they want you to leave. Or they will leave. So we, the leaders, have decided that it's better to sacrifice one than lose many. It's better to sacrifice one than lose many. I looked at the pastor and I couldn't believe my ears. These were the words I had heard before in the Bible. So I asked the leading pastor, "Do you know who said these words before?" He looked at me confused. I reminded him of the words that the chief priest Caiaphas said when the Pharisees were deciding to kill Jesus. Caiaphas said, "You do not realize that it is better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation perish." The leading pastor was confused, maybe even a little bit ashamed. But he didn't change his mind. They wanted me out because my presence annoyed them. What kind of church expels a member because his presence annoys some other members? Never heard anything like this. I couldn't understand anything. I was angry. So I asked God, what is going on? What is this craziness? that I'm facing right now? Why is everything so messed up? So he answered with a short sentence. This is it. This is it. What was it? This is what you asked for, remember? That's what God said. This is what you prayed for. Now I'm taking your gifts, your whole life, and use it for my purposes. This was God's answer. What? We ask you to take our gifts, our whole life, and use it for your purposes, and you give us this. Everything collapsing, my wife leaving, church kicking me out. Are you kidding me? God was silent. But as days passed and everything made even less sense, I wanted to know. So I asked God to tell me what he meant. And he got an answer. I got an answer. But I'm going to tell you about his answer next time. See you soon.